What's up? What's up? What's up, fam? What it do? What it do today? Today is the 27th of September, 2023. Y'all know what it is. Welcome to Random Thoughts with DVP. I am your host, DVP, and we're gonna try to do what we do and bring y'all, a decent show. Um, me and my super duper dope producer, Miller Mill, we're gonna do our thing, and I got a couple of guests. Mo is gonna be here with me. Joe gonna be here with me, and Philip gonna be here with me as we talk about some of the things in the state of this Black America. But before I get into that, my monologue. First of all, I want to say thank y'all for spending some time with me, even those of y'all that ain't here yet, but on the way. So when y'all rewatch this, because I always think it's crazy when they tell me people watch the show after the show and people comment. But hey, I appreciate you. As we talk about today, the state of Black America, I'm always perplexed with, as we're taking one step forward, it seems as if some of us are looking forward to bringing another man down or bringing us down by taking subliminal shots. And I say that with respect to Deion Sanders. I'm a Deion Sanders fan. Ergo, I support Colorado. It would be remiss of me and it would be foolish for me to, because of my respect and admiration for Deion, to think that Colorado is truly a top 25 team, knowing that last year they only won one game. So if I keep things in this proper perspective, Deion has done a great job already. If Deion wins 5 jobs, he is doing a stupendous job. To think that he can compete with the truly ranked teams is fool's gold. He may be, because upsets are always possible. But as I'm looking at some of the things that people have put out there in their, I want to just say it's wishful thinking, but the minute he fails, everybody jump on the wagon. He ain't this, he ain't that. But he is still doing a superb job. He has transcended Colorado football. If you know anything about college football, I don't know a little bit. Colorado ain't been good in a long time. I want to say, I think Cordell Stewart went to Colorado. But nevertheless, we place unrealistic expectations sometimes on people as opposed to giving them credit for what they're doing that is great. What he did for HBCUs was give them shine. What he did was give them more publicity. And it's no shame to not mention other people in the same breath as him because they have not done what he has done. There's a post going around talking about other Black college coaches who are still undefeated. Why don't we give them the same love we give Deion? Because they are not bringing the same energy. They're not bringing the same level of enlightenment. Deion has readily said there are some things about the NCAA that they don't like about him because it's coming from a Black man. These other coaches have not said that. Deion is one hell of a recruiter. Deion is one hell of a motivator. I saw somebody saying, yeah, if Deion and Shador come to the Falcons, we guarantee the Super Bowl. And I'm like, where did you get that from? I mean, what's in the Kool-Aid? Let's stop and appreciate people for what they are, where they are, because they may never elevate to a point where we want them to be. Thereby, we become distraught, and then we feel like they let us down when they never should have been in that position. That is us. That is something that we have to stop doing. We can appreciate the moment without depreciating the person or the standard. Let's celebrate what Deion is doing. Let's celebrate how he's bringing us to the forefront. Let's celebrate how he is going to make it possible for a lot of things that happen with Black coaches. In the same tone, we should celebrate Mike Tomlin for hiring a Black coach who sued the NFL. Let's do that. Let's celebrate people who uplift us, not place unrealistic expectations on them. And when they fail, then we feel like they failed us. Oh, all of a sudden now Deion is cocky and brash. Well, Deion has always been cocky and brash. Always. Nothing has changed. That's part of who he is. Prime time. Deion. Even look at him. Everybody calls him Coach Prime. Nobody calls him Coach Sanders. They call him Coach Prime. So He is who he is. Let's celebrate that and look at how we can be more positive minded. If you look at some of the plays when his players do bad, how he pulls them into him. He gives them a hug. He whispers words of encouragement. At least that's what our narrative says, into their ear and uplifts them. Let's do the same thing. Let's do the same thing. Let's have realistic expectations for people. Even great people will falter, so we cannot put them on a scale so high that we don't allow them to be human, so that they can disappoint us and let us down. This is what we have to stop doing. This is how we can do our best to support and motivate them. This is how we can show kids it's okay. Failure is an option. Failure is more likely than not. Most of us have failed and we thrive. We learn from it. So we have to quit using that narrative that failure is not an option. I never fail. I never lose. You're making the situation worse. Can we just stop doing that and just celebrate it for what it is? That's it. And let's move forward. Now, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the state of Black America and how we can quit being let down by people we should have never put at such a higher standard. How we will have to invariably do the work and be accountable and responsible for what befalls us, as opposed to waiting on a savior, some miracle man, some miracle woman to come and rescue us from ourselves. And when they don't, we're upset. So what I want y'all to do, it's 6:07. I want y'all to go get y'all some adult libations or whatever it is you drank and come back and join us after the break. Y'all know what it is. We'll be right back.
I love Atlanta, a city in the forest. Hi, I'm Jeff Cleveland, seasoned loan officer in the Atlanta market. And whether you're buying a new home, refinancing to do debt consolidation, home improvements, or just to lower your payment, give me a call. I'll ensure that you're treated with dignity and respect, that you're informed throughout the process, and that there are no surprises at closing. Give me a call and let's get started.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong.
Go get 'em.
It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm.
Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum designed for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
All right, what it do? I got two of my super dope. I want to call them friends, but sometimes I don't never know how this gonna go on the show. So I'm gonna just say I got two people with me right now. You know, I got the commander from the Starship Enterprise, or I don't know, he probably on the galaxy level thing. So I got Joe here, who I know he whatever it is, he gonna just disagree just because, you know, he be petty in my inbox. And then I got Mo here. And like I said, I used to think Mo was a good dude, but like I said, he sent me an unautographed book and he turned on me last week. So I really ain't sure what's going on, but because I'm a cool dude, they still invited to the show.
Hey,
so
Joe, beam
beam
this guy up, man. Joe, beam this guy up, man.
We can't, there's certain type of, let's say, there's certain type of elements we can't even beam aboard the ship.
Okay. You know, every time I think I'm making headway with this friendship thing, I realize having friends is highly overrated. Highly, you know what I'm saying? It's better just to have enemies. You can just have everybody who come up on you. But anyway, I got these two guys with me, and you know, I don't know why I gotta be part masochist, because I love them dearly, even though, you know, they causing me much grief. But they are here because, along with what I think, they have their own separate thoughts. And as we say, it's all about having tools on the tool belt. And if you talk to somebody and all you do is reaffirm your thoughts, what are you really learning if they don't bring anything to the conversation? I can just talk to myself. I don't disagree with myself often, but damn if these two don't disagree with me about something on a regular basis, especially one in particular who is a commander, but I'm gonna just let that be that. But that's the whole purpose of knowing people, so that if you say something, it might not be wrong, but it might not be right, and you need editing. It's good to have these people around. So what I want to start out with, because
hold on, DVP.
Go ahead.
Before you jump into your agenda, man, I got a comment about what we was talking about before the break with the Deion Sanders situation, and my input is this, that Deion Sanders is still in the building phase. No matter what you think about what the man has done so far or your expectations, he's still in the building phase. Sure. And anytime somebody's in the building phase, you know, they don't get, you know, maybe he's he's confident, but he's in the building phase, and that confidence, you need that confidence so you can take your team to the next level. It's not arrogance, it's confidence. And he will eventually get that team to where they need to be. But, you know, the people go ahead and, you know, judge them early. And I'm just going to say, in my experience, in the Black community, that's always done. You know, we don't get a fair chance. You know, you don't give your people a fair chance. You know, you say, if you're at the status quo right now, you know, you can't do any better. And I think we need to really look at that, examine that, and change it. You know, give people a fair shot at doing well. I mean, I experienced that on the job personally. And I don't know, maybe other people have something to say about that. And I didn't get a fair chance. So I'm just saying, let's just get a man a fair chance. He only been there a short while.
You know, I gotta say this. Fair is subjective. Let's start there. Let's also agree to something else. We've only been so-called free in this country since 1964, not 18. From 1619 till 64, we've had 300 years of slavery plus another 100 or so years of Jim Crow, which still exists today. I say that to say this, to preface my next statement. When Black men speak from a position of authority, they're deemed arrogant. Tell me if I'm wrong. Now, if a white had said this, or done the same thing, it's expected of them. You know, when they talk about what's his name down in Alabama, they speak
Nick
of
Saban.
everything. Dick Saban, even Tommy Tuberville, another wild race. They speak with reverence. Here's a black man that is not only doing the job that he was hired to do, doing it well. Now, here's the other thing we got to remember. They were not nobody else gave Deion a shot because he didn't have the alleged criteria.
The pedigree.
No.
He didn't have the bloodline.
That means. That's just another buzzword to keep you out. Because remember, at one time, you had to have a degree to do certain things.
Yeah.
What happened? They started seeing that we start getting those degrees. So what they do? They up the fence a little bit higher. And if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, that's a fact right there. That's a fact.
And this is why we can't put him on such a high pedestal that we the ones who knock him off. Everybody else know. I mean, you know, it's cute thinking. They should have never been in the top 25. They don't have that potential. What he individually doing is great. Colorado ain't there yet. Now, in 2 years, if he's still there, if they're not a top 25 team, then there's a problem. But this year, if they can win 3 games, that's 3 times as many as they won last year. And the fact that they beat a top 25 team is a great thing unto itself. And we gotta learn to accept that as opposed to keep placing further and further expectations on them. It's kind of like, you know, your kid goes to school in the 1st grade and he become class president, and all of a sudden you telling him that, you know, you expecting him to be president of the United States. That's unfair to him to put him at that. He did the first something for fun, and he having fun. He's the most liked right now. The real world, that's not how it works. Go ahead, sir.
Look at the conference they're in too. I mean, that ain't no joke conference,
right?
You know, so for him, as you say, they won more games now than they ever have. If we look at the revenue, they've sold out. They've actually sold out to next year. The merchandise is off the chain, out the door. So everything that he should be to a program, he is to Colorado what Nick Saban is to Alabama.
And I'm gonna correct you there. I'm gonna tell you why he ain't. I'm gonna tell you why he is better than Nick Saban. At Jackson State and in Colorado, both of them hired him with not enough funds. His presence got them to the point where they could pay him based off what he brought to the table. When Nick Saban took over Alabama, they were still one of the teams that was always in the conversation. But Colorado just earned enough money to pay Deion's salary his whole contract based off attendance that he brought, because nobody was going to Colorado games. So yeah, I'm gonna say in that respect, Deion is a whole head and shoulders above Nick Saban. Nick Saban didn't increase attendance. I mean, he was gonna get it based on who they were, based on the backdoor deals. He was gonna always have a top 20 team.
Yeah, and I want to just add one last thing. This kind of supports Joe's position, and it's just that, you know, change is relative. You know, when I was coming up, I used to always compare myself to people who had, you know, better resources. They had a better home environment. They had all kind of things, and I used to compare myself to them, and then, you know, feel bad about myself. And I'm saying, listen, change is relative. Now you got to look at what Deion inherited and where he is today, and that's all. I'm gonna leave it at that.
And I got Philip in the room. Philip is the one everybody want to be president, so we're gonna push that narrative too while we discussing today. So what's up, player?
What's going on, man? How y'all doing?
We good. All right, let's see. Farasi says I'm an HBCU graduate, Langston University, and I'm looking to become a head football coach at the HBCU level. That's what's up. One of the things that you know, and I know the guys saw this yesterday, Tuesday. I was at work. Kamala Harris was in town. I live in Atlanta, and my workplace is mostly black. And one of the ladies there said, "Oh, we can't use the streets now because Kamala Owens got all the streets blocked." And you know, I was oblivious to the fact that she was in town. I had totally forgot about it because I don't typically go downtown. So I'm like, who the hell is Kamala Owens? And she looked at me with the look like I was the stupidest dude on the planet, like I was one of them COVID guys who had the tail was turning white and had horns growing. And she's like, that's a vice president. You don't know who the vice president is? I was like, you got to be shitting me. You don't even know who the vice president is. And it made me think about the fact that we were having this show because we talked about this show. If y'all watched a couple of weeks ago, we talked about some of the things that we can do to improve our state. We're not racist, but we want to improve Black people's perspective. We don't even know who the hell we are. And some things can be a simple mistake, and I get that. I get that. But some things are just, to me, they reek of ignorance and the fact that you really don't care about your own, that you can't take the time to learn something, and just the outward ignorance that we don't mind showing people. And it bothered me. And it shouldn't have. I should have been able to laugh it off, correct her, and keep moving. But she repeated it like 2 more times. She specifically said Kamala Owens 2 more times. And I was like, you mean like Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States? Or like, are you talking about a school president I don't know nothing about? And she was like, who is Kamala Harris? And I was like, see, and I was like, because I put it in the chat, then I just had to stop because I found myself getting frustrated. And this to me is the state of looking at everybody, but this is the state of Black America. This is what I hear when Philip and Joe tell me things, and I have to go back to my real world environment. You know, they probably surrounded by better people than I'm surrounded by when I'm at work. And this is just frustrating me. It's like, so how are we gonna get better when we can't even acknowledge, you know, you don't know her name. We quick to bring Dion down because he lost the game to a clearly a better team. Clearly they were a better team. And a player was hurt. And now we calling for him to take the Falcons to the Super Bowl. Listen, Jesus and the 12 disciples could come play for the Pigeons. They're not going to the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. So we got to keep some things in perspective. And what Joe, what'd you say is relative? What'd you say was relative?
I said it. Change is relative.
And you know, I know when he was talking, we were talking about fairness.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, you do have to keep your expectations level to, in my mind, to reality. You know, we sit here and joke about Philip running for president. Now, Philip may one day run for office, but Philip ain't finna run for president in this 2024 election. It just ain't gonna happen. The money, all the other stuff. Philip was a hell of a smart guy. Philip loved to debate with me about stuff because that's what he do. Philip joins Joe and Mo as people who just disagree with me because they like to disagree with me. And that's okay. I still got love for him, even though Philip ain't never came to see me, but that's a whole nother story. I ain't gonna be petty. So I'm looking at this and I'm just wondering. I was reading the article, and gentlemen, this is where I really want y'all to chime in. I was reading the article about presidential candidates, and it says something to the fact that most Black people, their top 3 choices for president of the United States, their top 3 choices if they could have their way: Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, and the guy that used to own BET, Ben Johnson, I can't remember his name. How is it we looking for 3 people who have never been in politics, who have never said they wanted to be it? How do they become our top 3 finalists?
So where's
Philip,
this?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to ask you what you know, where was this poll? Where was the answers from this poll from? This is
Right.
Facebook.
No. This was I was reading. This is when I was actually reading some news stuff.
Oh,
and it was
okay,
like, yeah,
okay.
this is, you know, these are Black America's top choices, and I was like, this is just crazy.
Well, I got to tell you, first off, you got to stop reading some of them comic books. Some are good, some ain't. But more to the point, you know, that's like listening to when they talk about the Nielsen ratings. I don't know any Black person that's ever been a part of a Nielsen poll, but yet they'll tell you what the #1 shows are. So again, you know, you've got to be careful of who gives us information. But that segue into a whole nother dissertation.
Go ahead, Philip. Give me something, Philip. Why are you sitting in like the Jefferson's old place?
It's more like Munsters.
Your audio, brother.
Unmute yourself. You're muted.
Sure. Hey, what the hell was that? Is that a Federation sign language, man?
I can't. Klingon sign language.
Well, and while we wait on Philip, and
y'all hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm working on some visuals for my podcast. So it didn't. Anyway, so how do I feel about that poll? I'm going to go with Joe when it comes to that. I've never been polled a day in my life, and I work for a voting rights organization that did polling, and the way that organization did polling was not, and it was targeted towards us. I don't know who they're asking these questions. I'm not going to say that that's not those aren't names that haven't been tossed around before, but in terms of how seriously I take it, I don't. But then I also look at it like this. We just got done with a reality star. America as a whole, to be a quote unquote developed nation, is a pretty anti-intellectual nation that worships its celebrities. And so it makes that's funny. We'll get to that later. So it makes sense that Black people would, if that is, let's just say they've asked 1 million Black people, and a quarter of that said those names. It makes sense because that's America. We make our celebrities are our royalty.
And I would argue that point every day of the week. But more to the point, that burning bad living room, man, you got to do stuff with that. I'm sorry.
and I hear it because I've heard this in casual conversation, and it's like people really do take this. They take this serious, and it lets me know how much they value elections and what's really going on, because they're living in a state of unreality. And it's easy to see why we get so disenfranchised so quickly, because when things don't go the way we want them, because we've already set up we've already put ourselves in a can't win situation, and we can't win. It's like, see, I knew they wouldn't do what we wanted. I knew we couldn't do this. I knew, because it's like you don't even have realistic expectations. And I've said before, and I ain't gonna turn this into a political show, but I think the bulk of us agree that we don't want Joe. We don't want Joe. But if Joe is the only choice versus the other dude, then Joe gets the vote, because you can't sit back and say, well, I ain't gonna vote for nobody and bitch and whine. And one of the things that Philip said that I started using was Joe as the keeper of the gate. He ain't doing nothing great. He ain't doing nothing horrible. He's just keeping the gate. Why we keep pissing on Cornell? We'll get into that one later. I'll let the gentleman say. I already tell you why I don't like Cornell.
My vote. I'm just putting it out there. He's getting my vote.
Right. But okay. So, but I'm saying right now, most people have agreed that they don't want Joe or Donald.
Right.
That is, I think that's something that the bulk of America agrees on. Republicans, Democrats, blacks, whites. Only the extremists on both sides are pushing for them.
Now, before you go on, let me just throw this out there, because this is a little tangent to the subject, but it fits. And that's when I'm retired now. When I was working though, it was extremely hard for me to get promoted. And it wasn't because of my deficiencies. It was because of a lot of the bureaucracy and the issues within the company that I believe I faced. Now, do I want to call them racial? I could, but I don't really know the reason. But I'm going to just tell you, I've seen people who got promoted, faster than me, who didn't have my capability. Now, I bring that up because we had a couple people in politics that shouldn't have even been in the damn door. Donald Trump, how the hell did he get in the door? He looked like he got a 6th grade education. Herschel Walker, he was playing football, man. How you get in the door? You know what I mean? So the standards, it seems to me like the standards that they're using to bring candidates in and follow is different from how it's always, in the past, there's been some issues too, but it's different from that even. And I just want to point that out.
But let me piggyback on that. again, I won't go too far down the rabbit hole, but understanding the game, as many people tell you, isn't of itself what this is all about. So if you can pick the president, you can almost pick and choose which fights you want, which fights you're going to bypass. But more importantly, who does the picking is the real issue. Now, if we look at this thing from purely a PowerPoint of view, and I'll take any questions. Where's the real power? The real power is not the presidency; it's the United States Senate. Now, where's the game afoot at? So there's 400 and some congressmen. There's only 100 United States senators. One president. But guess who they got to all come through? No matter what you do, the House can legislate, the Senate dictates. The Senate dictates what the president does. Senate dictates what the House will or will not do. Any laws passed come past the United States Senate. So, do you really?
And this, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
And this is where, when it comes to politics, we have to understand totality of circumstances. It's not one office is going to make a change for anybody, unless we're talking super
Jordan.
Local. Your mayor can make a change in your neighborhood. That's a local thing. Nobody in Washington, D.C. is theoretically going to make a substantial change to us individually. As Joe was saying, if we can elect who we want to as president, but if we don't give them the engine to make it run, we're peeing on each other and telling each other it's just dirty rain. And this is where we have to be more accountable. This is where you have to do what I did. You have to reach out to Philip. You have to reach out to Joe and Mo and let them tell you things. Like I said, 7 years ago, me and politics were, I knew enough in politics not to be stupid, but I didn't know enough about politics to have a conversation. I did start learning about some after Obama and seeing all the problems he went through with as Joe was saying, with Senate and Congress, because our political science classes are shit. They don't really teach us a whole lot about the process, and we don't understand. Everybody wants to quote Malcolm, Ballad of the Bullet, but you still don't understand how much power you give up in not voting for anybody. As Philip said, as long as West is on the thing, that's his candidate, and that's okay. But some of us, we vote, and we don't have a clue as to what we're voting for. We vote for one something, and that's it. You can ask people, who's your mayor? Who's your councilman? And they don't have a clue. Your councilman is the one who's going to take care of your school zones, who's going to take care of your streets, who's going to take care of the homeless. That ain't a DC issue. But we'll look, I'm doing this, I'm going to do, and we don't get it. And we get crazy candidates. We get Herschel. We get some of these other people who don't belong. But shit, look at, what's the crazy lady name in Georgia, Philip?
MTG?
Marjorie Taylor Greene. How the hell did she get into politics? That's got to be one of the most insane people on the planet. I mean, she got to be top three. Top three. And she said some of the dumbest shit ever. And nobody calls her out. And one of the things that, we talk about the state of Black America, and, and I hate when we compare ourselves to them because it sucks. But when they do something, when we do something, so they didn't do that to them. Okay, well, 2 wrongs equal 2 wrongs. Are we trying to compare ourselves to them, or what are we trying to do? We can't keep comparing ourselves to them and trying to live, because a lot of shit they do is just dumb. It's just dumb. And is that our standard? Because sometimes, I try to talk to these gentlemen, but sometimes I don't know what the standard is, because it doesn't seem like we have a standard. It seems like, as Stanford said, a lot of times we're voting on popularity, not on position, not on stance, not on anything of substance. It's like, well, who do I like? Herschel was put here simply because he went to University of Georgia and people voted for him, no matter how many lies were proven that he told. And guess what? Everybody who voted for him was not white. There were a lot of blacks who voted for him. And I listened to some of the reasons. Oh, he from Georgia. We should want our own. He ain't lived here forever. He barely graduated from high school. He didn't graduate from college. He's got an imagination out the ass. His whole spiel about vampires and werewolves, how could you listen to that and vote for that man? Would you let that man take your daughter out after hearing that speech?
Hold on. Your president just called for the execution of a United States general. So now, but let me add this so people put this in terms of relativity. United States Congressman serves 2 years, actually 18 months, if you really want to know the truth. The president serves 4 years. United States Senator serves 6 years. Listen to what I just said. Why do you think the Senate is all white? Well, almost all white. There's a reason for that. There's a reason that most of your Supreme Court judges came out of what? United States Senate. There's a reason for all that. So when we talk about, and one thing you said, DVP, and I got it, not that I like to give you credit, but I will. The fact of the matter is, all politics is local. Let's start there. All politics is local. That's where we're losing the ground control. That's where we're losing the ball at. Because we've forgotten that. We've forgotten our base. We've gotten away from the community, the whole idea of community organizing, which really got us off the ground. And I'll leave it there.
And like I said, this is when we're talking about what could be better for us. This is where we have to sit down and listen and have real conversations and not just wishful thinking. We have to sit down. What is better for us? I know, and I ain't gonna speak for him, but I know one of Philip's things is reparations. And I've been waiting to hear a plan that I believe in, because I don't think it's gonna ever happen in my lifetime. I don't think it's gonna happen in my daughter's lifetime. But that doesn't mean I'm for the conversation. It just needs to make sense. Side note, Stanford, I don't believe there should be. Okay, your term limits. I thought you said one term limit. I don't. One term limits, depending on what it is, it's really kind of hard to get stuff done because it still is about making connections. It still is about making connections. And sometimes it's a process. I do believe age. I would be more for an age limit than a term limit because there's a time when you just out of touch with reality. And it seems like everybody who is there that's over 70 has been there for 50 years. They're out of touch with reality. They're probably still using typewriters. And they just don't have a clue. But that's what my perspective is. And that's why I talk to these gentlemen, because sometimes they say something like, you know what, that make a little bit, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because I thought I was against term limits, but it's like with the president. He really can't get a lot of his stuff going till his second term. And it's more so because he don't give a shit because he ain't got nothing else to lose at that point. But he's built enough cachet and got enough things going that he can do that if he has the car and a mechanic to help him get there. And that's where we come in because we have to do this part. And this is the part where I think as Black America, we fail because we don't talk to enough Philip and Joes to understand the pretty car needs a mechanic to keep it running. We vote for the shiny object. We vote for the lesser of two evils, but we don't know how to maintain or even push the narrative to get what we want. One of my biggest issues. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, man.
One of my biggest issues with Cornel West, I said, is that he always jabbed at Obama. He ain't jabbed at nobody else. And I believe if you're going to be fair, jab at everybody who's mistreating us. Don't just pick us to jab at everybody who's mistreating us. If you're going to represent us. Don't just jab at the people who look like us that don't treat us accordingly. Jab at Trump, jab at Biden, jab at everybody who ain't doing what you think we should be doing. Because it ain't just, as Joe said, it ain't just Obama who can make decisions. It's a whole slew of people. And I hate the slave. I hate the slave narrative because it agitates me because we're more mental slaves than anything else. We've all got jobs now. We can call in. We can pick another job we want to. So to try to compare our state now to slaves back in the day where they couldn't do nothing, to me it's disrespectful. We ain't nowhere like where they at. Are we still held back? Yes, but we got things we could never have before. I mean, most of us got a nice house. We're not crammed in an apartment complex. Some narratives we have to start pushing forward from and stop letting that be why we don't do anything. We can't keep saying this is the same as it was in the 60s or the 50s. It's just not the same. We got blacks now who make millions, plenty of blacks who make millions. We don't accuse them of not helping. But the minute Philip don't do something, I'm be like, oh, Philip didn't do this. Philip, correct me if I'm wrong, but are you making $20 million a year?
Man, if I did, we'd be on national television right now.
Joe, you making $20 million?
In my mind.
Okay, Mo might be close. I ain't gonna ask Mo, and Roy probably right at the threshold, so I ain't gonna ask him because I don't want to put y'all out because this be the one damn show the IRS gonna be watching. So I'm gonna just act like Mo and Roy only make $1,800 a year. So IRS they not there.
I need to jump in because I want to make sure. I know Mo guy has something, but I want to jump in on something that both you and Joe said. And we've had this conversation. When I heard y'all talking politics, I was listening. And I had to get in on this part of the discussion because the first thing is the part that you said. People don't understand the true power of politics, and that politics is literally the only system in where there is a trickle up process. What does that mean? That means that as things happen locally in multiple places, they trickle up. If the majority of the cities in your state pass the law, guess what your state is going to have to do? Pass that law. If the majority of the states in the nation pass a law, guess what's going to end up having to happen? They're going to have to pass that law in the national level. We don't vote and participate enough locally to have the impact that we need overall. And again, when we say we, I'm assuming we're talking about black people. We'll go back to the Ferguson situation that we were dealing with 10 years ago when you did the research and find out that 70% of the people in Ferguson were black. Yep. And they literally had 30% of the people running the county. They had no clue of all the power that they had sitting right there in their hands that they did not utilize. You've got to start our process from politics at the local level and then move it up so that it goes through there. Here's the other thing, and Joe made a point. This is something that a lot of people have no clue of when he was talking about stuff. In the 1930s, it was either the 30s or the 40s, the Senate said it is not wise for one person to continually be able to run for office and run this country. That is why we have term limits on the president. But they understood exactly what they were doing because we need term limits in the Senate. You should not be able to be in the Senate for more than 4 terms because you're right. There is a process of trying to be there and establish. You got to learn when you get in and you got to figure something. So you figure it's going to take a year or 1 or 2 terms to do something. But we should not have senators who have been in office for 30 years. That is ridiculous. Those people are people, like y'all were saying, that wield more power than you end up giving your president power. They're behind the scenes and they're doing all the stuff. I've been telling people forever. If I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna go. If you want to see, and yes, it's a TV show, it is what it is. But if you want to see the closest thing to the reality of what you're gonna get exactly in politics, go watch House of Cards. That show shows you the inner workings. It shows you how stuff is backdoor dealed and how the Senate and all these people actually control what happens in Washington because they're the ones who the lobbyists go after. They're the ones who they spend the money with. They're the ones who make the law. Like he said, it doesn't happen if it doesn't come through the Senate, regardless of what everybody else does. And that's too much power.
And on that, and Roy gave a great example because that's what got me into politics was Ferguson. Because they made me do the research. It's like, how do y'all keep electing white people to do this when y'all are 70% black? And it's like, well, most of us are convicted felons. And it's like, no, only a portion of y'all, but y'all can still get the right to vote. But they gave up their power because they believed that they couldn't do anything. And it's like, damn, if I can do this and I'm in Atlanta just because y'all, I don't know who it was that called into the show, but they called in and they was talking about the state of, they got a white police chief, they got a white mayor, everybody who runs the city is white. How do you get white leadership in a 70% city? Well, 70%. And out of that 70, doing the quick numbers, most of y'all are still, it was still over 51% of y'all who could vote. I want to still say it was 70, 80%.
Yep.
So there's no reason that you can't elect somebody who looks like you, who supports you. Y'all got drug dealers. Why don't y'all drug dealers get together, have them send somebody to school, major in political science, and elect them as mayor?
You mean like the mafia does?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But it's coordinated. I mean, Joe, I can't run your house from over here. You can't say, well, DVP got to show, so whatever he said I got to do. And that's when we get to the state of Black America. Like I was telling Antoinette, we are fighting, but the fight that we're having most of the time is ignorance. It's not that the knowledge ain't there. The reason I don't like that attorney dude, he never tells us how to get better. He gets his cut and go on to the next case. He never lays down a plan of what I said I was gonna be, but I ain't gonna disagree with you if you're right. But there are people who could lead us in the right direction, but they don't. That's not their interest. They want to be seen as a savior. They get paid, but they never tell you what they can do. They never tell you what we can do to help ourselves, other than call him and let him get 85%. That he gonna get back because he gonna lend you some money and charge you mafia type. But that's a whole nother story. But these are the things where our fight is more so with us. We fight amongst each other. Philip can tell me something. If I disagree, then I either don't want to talk to Philip no more, or Philip is stupid, or Philip is caught in the matrix. I don't want to listen to what he has to say. And that's where we have so many problems with the state of Black America, because we're quick to disagree with each other. And how many times in reality have we seen something when a white man says something, nobody challenges it? As stupid as Marjorie Taylor Greene says shit, I'm just trying to figure out, when do Black people come out and challenge her? But let Raphael Warnock say something out of pocket, and here they come. And it's like, well, damn, this lady challenged school shootings. Y'all didn't say shit. Raphael Warnock had to evict some people. Y'all raised holy hell. I'm just like, where are we? Well, we just want to make sure. I want to make sure Philip don't never get to be nobody special, so I'm gonna keep him close just so I can do this. Not that I'm gonna say, Philip, why you doing this? And maybe we're gonna sit down and have a talk about it and go from there. Joe is quick to tell me, no, do you need to look at this? Joe will give me literature or tell me what books I need to read. This is where we need to be if this is truly what we want, in my mind, because we can't depend on athletes. We can't depend on attorneys. We can't depend on judges. We got to depend on what's at the grassroots. And I don't see how we can get around it if we're going, what do they say? For you to have a strong house, you got to have a nice foundation. Ain't that pretty much the standard for everything? But we all keep wanting to go to the penthouse, and we all keep falling. We all keep falling. So when I got these gentlemen here, that's why I want that. These three guys know more than me. I will concede that. And that's why I listen to them. And that's why I want y'all to ask them questions, because they can tell me when I'm pushing the right buttons, or when I'm too far left or too far right or whatever. And this is what we do. So, and I'm gonna pick Philip first because Philip is local. So, Philip, what's a great way we can start to try to improve the state of Black America at local levels?
I think so. I'll address this one point. So there are some grassroots efforts in our community that do not get the shine. They don't get the funding. They don't get the recognition that a lot of major organizations get for their work. There's work that's being done. It's not sexy. Everything that we're talking about has no sex appeal at all.
None.
And so if it's not centered around some kind of tragedy or some kind of travesty of justice, then it's hard to get the level of attention that it needs so that it can be supported. So we have mechanisms in place where that are at the grassroots level, that are organizing us, that are challenging some of these laws. What I heard, and I'm gonna answer your question, but what I heard was a focus on the behavioral aspect of our community, and I'm all for that. But there's a structural aspect as well that we've always faced, and it has it's had several iterations, right? Of course, slavery kind of being the peak of that, but then we have all these other eras in our existence here where structural barriers have been real, and they have been they've worked together to create the outcome that we have. If we look at Ferguson, when the Ferguson report came out, there was there was one piece on it that dealt with how the citizens were being, it was basically like taxation by citation. So black citizens were being overly pulled over at disproportionate numbers, and they were being fined in disproportionate ways, and that was how they were being, how the city was driving revenue. We can look at cities like Sandy Spring when they were forming, and how if you look at their development over the last 10 years, people kind of marvel at it. But when you go behind the scenes, you see they picked up the same model as Ferguson, taxation by citation. So there are some things we can do individually, behaviorally, we can always do. But I want to caution against this idea. There's a saying that nobody thinks less of the oppressed more than the oppressed. And so I bristle at the notion that we're not doing enough, because there's so much work that we have done. And there's so much work that we're doing. How do we get Black America? What do we do about the state of Black America? I think what we're doing about the state of Black America, we are having tough conversations. Black people hold themselves accountable for bad actions more than any other group, because we are expected to do that. We don't hear people performing these kinds of public, shame, where it's like, if one Black person does something, all of us got to feel bad about it. We don't see that. We don't see Asians. If there's a mass shooting by an Asian, we don't require that of Asians. Society doesn't require Asians to perform in these kind of, perfunctory shame rituals, right? We have to be patient with ourselves. We have to give space for us to fail forward, and work with the kind of tenacity that you're going to see the change today, but also know that you're probably not going to see the change today, and that's okay. Because there was someone who I took my daughter to go see. There was a panel last night with the last survivor of the Tulsa massacre, and Monica Kaufman and Bernice King, Dr. King's daughter. And the fact that my daughter, who'll be 13 in less than a month, was able to sit in a room with someone who survived the Tulsa massacre, right? And then someone else who was the daughter of the last great prophet America had, speaks to not only how far we have, how relative the history is. Like, we think of Dr. King, black and white, but his daughter is alive. I mean, she's like 60, right? We think about Tulsa, that's black and white, right? But there's the lady who was there, her name is Mother Fletcher. She's 109 years old. So we are not as far removed from the peak of this kind of structural design to oppress us as we like to believe we are. I would argue that Black people have made more strides in the 150 plus years that we've been free than any other group, than any immigrant group, than white women. Go ahead.
How dare you say something like that? How dare you? You get, man, if you're coming through this one, I'm gonna take you. Let me tell you something. Did you ever say in 150 years to me, who is a great grandson of slaves, whose family did fight in the Civil War, whose family was slaves. And you're going to tell me we made strides? I'm not going to use the N word, but man, I don't know how you can even sit there and say that, young brother. That's the problem. That is indeed the problem. Free. Where did you see free? Spell free.
I'm gonna give you a mute. I'm gonna give you a mute button, Philip, so you see what I got to go through.
Oh man, he was so mad, man. It knocked him off. It knocked
Right,
him
so-
off. He was so mad.
So the question is, how much tongue in cheek was that, or what? What is he saying? But here's one of the arguments, though, that I understand just the statement itself. The reality that we have to look at is this, and this is a part of the argument when we, especially as we talk about other groups who come to this country that people don't really get into, that people don't really pay attention to. We are the only group of people, immigrant people in this country, who weren't brought here by our own people. Understand?
Right.
So I'm going to say that again to y'all. We were the only group of immigrant people not brought here by our own people. It was white European people who brought the Irish over here. It was Chinese, Asian, Japanese people who brought those people over here. They were still in control of that population that they sent over here to do things and to get engaged in this country. We were the only ones who were listed in chattel slavery for over 100 years. If we look at it, the Chinese people had only actually been here for what? 70 years? If you look at the turn of the century, they probably started coming in the 30s when they started bringing Chinese people over here. And you know, when they had the first big boom out west and doing stuff. So that's an issue that we have to deal with.
We got to let go of the past. See, as long as we stay in the past, we don't get nowhere.
But hold on. And you know, this is one of the things that we semi-disagree on, because I do absolutely agree that we have to let go of using the past as our crutch. What we can't let go of is the knowledge and the history of what actually happened. That's what continues to destroy us. That's why we are now mental slaves as compared to physical slaves, because too many of us have forgotten what control was over us. We've forgotten what our people did. Go, oh man, listen, I ain't no slave. I ain't doing that. No, yeah, you are. When you look out here, and here, I'm going to jump to my favorite subject as we deal with this, as we look at music. You show me another genre or race of music setting that we have where Wet Ass Pussy will be the #1 song in the country by Billboard. You show me white folks that make music like that make it to that level.
They also consume it.
Huh?
They also consume WAP. Too.
Well, no, but we get that. We understand that everybody consumes it.
Right.
But what do they put out? What do you put out as the prominent thing in your community? I've been in the radio industry for over 30 years. I've never seen another group. They make some raunchy country songs. They make some raunchy rap songs. They never make the Billboard. They never get airplay on the radio.
But
turn our radio on.
Right. I want us to move forward. I don't want us to keep dwelling there.
That's not the past. That's now.
Right. It is. Right. We're talking about how to make it.
This is now.
Right. No.
This is
right.
now.
Right.
WAP is the #1 song from last year. Bongos will be that this year.
Right. If they don't vote, then we don't care about them. We can't keep letting them.
No. See, D, that's the problem. We have to have all of them engaged in the process.
Problem is we keep talking about them. It's just like having black neighborhoods. Right. All the niggas can't come to the black neighborhood. We can keep talking about them, and we ain't gonna never get nowhere because we keep focusing on them. See, there's a ton of people who ain't never heard WAP, who don't know not one Cardi B song. Those are the ones that we want. We don't want the ones who want Cardi B the role model. We can't keep giving them airplay. That's the same thing that they do. That's where our mental slavery comes in, because we get focused on what they're doing to hold us down.
What did you just say though? What did you just say? See, this is
they.
Right. Why are we? Hold on.
Everybody got
Let me
a
ask you
Facebook
this
page.
question.
No,
Let me ask you
Ryan,
this
no,
question.
no, you can't take off the show. No.
See, I would ask you one
No,
question.
you keep telling me
why
what I
are we
can't do.
doing? No, I'm
Man,
asking you this
Mike,
question.
please, no,
why
you
are
can't
we
keep
doing
telling
this?
me.
Why are we doing this though?
Because I asked him, how can we get better, Roy? And you going backwards.
That's not
I don't care about Asians. How can we get better? That's all I want to talk about. That's all. That's it.
But see, D, this is where we disagree because you can't.
We can disagree.
You
I
can't
just want to
deal
talk
with
about
the,
getting better.
You can't deal with getting better if you don't deal with the symptoms. You have to stop the symptoms, though.
Right. Rap music ain't the system.
I said symptoms. I didn't say
rap music
symptoms.
Ain't the symptom. We grew up with fuck the police and killing people. Phil, how many people have you killed? I know you heard the song. Mo, how many people have you killed with all that gangster rap? None. Some of us have the ability to rise above our circumstances. Those are the movers and changers. Those are Philip.
So you say leave everybody else around? You say just leave everybody else out? Some of those people, D, how many times have you said that the majority of us are sheep? If we don't start being able to corral our sheep, we won't be able to grow to what we need to be able to do.
And if we keep trying to get out on straight shit, we're going to forever.
I didn't say
tired.
all of them. We're never going to get all of them.
You're right. So all we talking about is how we move forward. The ones that don't want to come, we're not trying to bring. That's why I don't bring everybody to the show. I bring people. What do we talk about? Solutions, not remembrance. Not remembrance. Not remembrance.
That's like I said. That's one of the things. You got to be able to deal with that part of it to get forward, though.
No, we don't.
Because the symptoms are going to keep being
who the politicians go after? They go after voters. Do yes or no? Don't they go after voters? They don't care about the masses. They care about the voters. The masses don't vote.
But I think Roy raises a good point, though. I mean, it's like we can't. There's no way to decontextualize our situation. Like there's just no way to do it. It would be like trying to talk about your life without talking about your mom and your daddy, and the decisions that your mom and dad made that led to you even being in this world. Like that is a critical part of your story, of your condition. And while something that happens to you in 1983 should not still have the same kind of shouldn't drive you into certain direction. Yeah. So there is this theory around epigenetic trauma. And
Philip, before you go in there, because we got to take a break. We're supposed to take a break before we got to take a break. So hold on to that. I can't pronounce that word you just said. Whatever that was.
Epigenetic. I'm getting on Google. So I need a brother to come with a definition.
We'll take us to a break.
Okay.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum designed for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
All right, we back. Where did Philip go? Philip's supposed to tell us about Eppa something.
Yeah, that word.
Yeah, I need him to spell it to pick it up.
Well, let me answer your question before you go on to something else. We got Stanford. Stanford, you're on mute, man. Let me answer your question before we go on to something else. So, I'm saying that we need a forum to teach Black businesses how to do business. So what I mean by that? So one time I was in the mall. The mall was open. There was only one place open, and there was a family, a little white family was in the mall. I'm sitting there in the cafeteria area. There's about 20 businesses, and so I got two examples. And the little girl, all of a sudden, all the other businesses open. Everybody was open now. And I heard the dad, I'm in earshot. I heard the dad ask the little white girl, she said, "So where you want to go eat?" There's one place in the mall called Dorothy's and Leroy's. The only place in the mall is Black people. Okay. It's a Black owned business. Right. Dorothy and Leroy's. She said, "I want to go there." Right. The little white girl said, "I want to go there." So they get over there. I'm still listening. I don't know. I just happened to be close enough to listen. And when she got over there, she said, and I looked at my clock, man, it was past opening time. It's like 8:15 or something, right? And they open at 8. They're supposed to open at 8. And the little girl said, I want the fish and chips. And the lady behind the counter, man, disappointed the hell out of me. She said, "I wish I could make that for you, baby, but the grease ain't hot yet." That killed me, man, right there. I'm like, hold on a second. This is an opportunity right here, because white folks already have a view of us. They already have their opinions of us. And now you just supported it, because out of all these businesses, she went to you, asked for what she wanted, and y'all said the grease ain't hot yet. As far as that's being unprofessional, that's just like unacceptable. I just wanted to point. So I think we need to have programs to help Black businesses learn how to do business. So that's my answer on that.
And before, he keep disappearing. And before that, I would say that part, we need to have a meeting with Black communities, so that when something goes wrong, we stop burning down Black businesses and Black communities first. That just agitates me. Stanford can't start a business in the hood, because the minute something go wrong, they're gonna go after his business first. So what is his motivation to be around his people if as soon as something happens wrong in Black America, we attack Black Americans? All the shit that went wrong with George Floyd, they didn't go uptown. When all the shit that went wrong with Rodney King, they didn't go uptown. They tore down their own hoods. This is something that we have to tell each other to stop doing that. If we're gonna do crazy shit, let's do crazy shit somewhere else. Don't tear down what we're trying to build up to make our own hoods better, because what's his name? The comedian who didn't want stuff in his neighborhood because it brings down the value, and we tear up our own shit. We got to have a meeting about that, so that we stop being destructive to each other, because that is hurting us. Why would Stanford spend his money, get insurance that's going to be higher in the hood, and as soon as something happens, he got to stand outside his store saying, "Hey, this is a black-owned business. Don't burn it down."
Yeah,
we have to stop. We have to stop destroying us from within and blaming everybody else, because nobody makes us destroy our own. Philip, you got your word?
Oh,
yeah, I was. So there's this book that it's called. It's called Post-Traumatic. Here we go. Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and it's by Dr. Joy DeGruy. Fascinating study on this phenomenon called post-traumatic slave syndrome, and one of the things that she covers in there is epigenetic trauma, and basically it's trauma that is experienced, that is coded into our DNA, that is then passed down from generation to generation. It was first kind of theorized with Holocaust survivors. So the credence, the scientific community gives credence to the fact that Holocaust survivors, even though they may not have gone through those gas chambers or experienced, concentration camps, there is trauma that was passed down from their predecessors from that very traumatic experience to their people. And what Dr. DeGruy argues is that the trauma that was passed down from not just the experience of slavery, but everything that happened post-slavery, because we were never made whole, it feeds the way that we live and exist in ways that are so they're so unconscious. Like there is something as innocent as a parent. If your EPIGENETIC.
I got it. I put it in the chat.
Okay. As a black parent, if your kid gets a compliment, our first inclination is to kind of like not downplay it a little bit, but kind of
we deflect because we don't want
undercut it just a little bit, right?
Yeah, I read that one.
Well, we get that from our matriarchs who were enslaved, who would if let's say the slave master was talking about how pretty a little slave girl was. Well, the mom would talk down on her daughter because she didn't want her daughter to be prey to this slave master. Some of the ways that we deal, social learning is a big way that just humans pick up habits and behaviors. Some of the ways that we interact, even though we are removed from slavery, like we are not in chains, but we don't understand how profoundly impacted we are from that experience. And that's just slavery. So we do have to have a conversation that is holistic, and we don't have to stay there, but in order to develop the kind of compassion, Farrakhan said this: you got to love people more than they hate themselves. In order to develop the kind of compassion that we need for each other, we have to have a holistic approach in how we address our trauma. And that does start with where it is rooted. We don't have to stay there. We don't have to live there, but it does. We do have to develop a kind of a compassionate muscle, if you will, so that we can not let behavior go without being addressed, but understand we are all kind of performing. We don't know who we really are without the trauma. You know what I mean? Like have you ever as older man, I'll be 41 in exactly a month, right? I know that I'm a different man at 41 than I was at 21 as it relates to my romantic relationships. If you showed me a text message I sent to somebody at 20, I sounded like a simp, right? But at 40, I don't move like that. It's not, but that is also due to experiences, right? If we look at somebody like Elizabeth Smart, who got kidnapped and she was gone and she was, they couldn't find her. Then when they finally found her, she was down the street. Nobody will go up to Elizabeth Smart and say, I mean, that was just 20 years ago. I mean, you can't get over it. No, that impacts not only Elizabeth Smart, but the children that she has, the kind of grandmother she becomes, the things she passes down to them that they will pass down to their people. But because we have been trained we have been trained to humanize white people, either humanize them or make them superhuman. And we've also been trained to subhumanize our own experience. And as a result of that, we have a shorter temperament when it comes to the progress that we think we ought to be making. And it just can't be that. We are in rehab. We have been in rehab for 150 plus years. And I don't see us getting out of rehab for at least another 150 years. And we just have to know that, but also move with that, again, that kind of tenacity that says, I'm going to do all that I can in this space of time that I live in to move the needle forward. But I have to know on an intellectual level, at least, that the move is going to be so minuscule that it might feel like it was unnoticed. It might feel like I did all that in vain, but know that you didn't do it in vain.
What you guys stand for? Welcome to the show. You've been
how's everybody
you've been sitting
doing?
by patiently.
What's going on, Stan?
All right, how y'all doing? Y'all said a lot, and it's a lot to unpack. And but it's good to have this kind of dialogue. It really is, in my opinion. It's very good. When I hear, it sounds like to me that, like, what Chasing, is your name Chasing Hustable? That's
Philip.
Yeah, Philip. Okay, well, Chasing Huxtable, whatever. I'm thinking you're talking about like chasing the Cosby Show or whatever. I'm thinking you're saying that type of scenario for us.
It is.
And that's kind of slick though. I like that.
It is.
It sounds like to me you describing the Willie Lynch letters. That's what it sounds like to me. And it's the mind, right? We have to change our mindset, in my opinion. We don't have the correct mindset. That's what I'm saying, and I believe that's what you're saying too. As far as the, what white people have done and talk about this in their music, it's raunchy, like someone said. No, I know a couple of people, Lady Gaga, Madonna, right? Those are white people that did all that, right?
Marilyn Manson.
Wasn't Madonna on stage doing this with her titties like this and talking about all this? And she made a video about it, right? She slept with Tupac, Big Daddy Kane, and all these other people, right? As far as the politic things, in my opinion, I think there's a few things that's wrong there. Number one, we're not educated enough in politics. Our people just not educated enough in politics because, we talk ourselves out of it. It's political between us black people, right? To even get people to vote. Like, for instance, you got some brothers who will vote and you got some brothers saying that you shouldn't vote because it ain't going to do nothing anyway. So we infighting amongst each other when it comes to that. That's kind of weird to me, but it is happening. I mean, I can have my own opinion about it, and that's cool. And they can have their own opinion about it. My answer to them is that you can't complain about things being fucked up. Oh, pardon me. I ain't know if we can curse or not. You can't be complaining about things being messed up if you didn't vote at all. So sit down, shut up, and sit in your corner. That's how I feel about that.
So look, let me just piggyback on what Stanford said, because there's one key point that you said that I don't think it's just I could say this is my opinion, but I've seen it as well, and that is that we don't know politics well enough, and along with that is the fact that what kind of education do you get to kind of formally let you know how politics the reality of politics can create change.
Okay,
I ain't never got that. I ain't never got it.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you how.
So no, I'm saying I agree with you. I'm agreeing with you.
Oh yeah, no, I believe you.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you because that is not in the mainstream. That, like, you think about all the classes you took, right? 12th grade, then you went to college. If you didn't go into political science, you still don't get that information, right? It's on each individual to get that, or the families to pass it down. And I just say, I speak for me personally, I never understood the details around politics and how they can make changes. I've heard, like, when I was growing up, I heard people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King say vote this and that, but it still wasn't, that was something that was just a call to action, but it wasn't, for me, it was like, okay, how this gonna work? I still was trying to figure out how it's gonna work. And I'm just saying, that's just my own personal story. And I think a lot of people probably have that same, that same kind of idea, but I don't know. But for me, that's how it was.
Well,
what is the essence that changes man? What is the essence that changes man? Do you know?
This is part of what we got to do. We have to have separate conversations. And I'm never saying forget the past, but if we hang on to it, if you're too big, what do you know about running a race? You can't keep looking behind you to see who's gaining on you, or you're losing ground. Go to win the race, because I've always said what's more important to me is us being mentally healthy. I believe mental health facilities should be affordable and available. And not knocking you, Philip, I'm gonna pick you. When people want to talk to me about reparations, and I just say what's important to me, it's like, we don't need that. We need money. But money without knowing money management is just wasted money, because we've had money, we've thrown money away. So what I want to say when I was talking to Philip is, how do we move forward? We can revisit all this stuff as we're moving forward, but we can't spend the next 3 years trying to educate somebody on our past and still trying to move forward. We can do two things at once. We have to become more politically astute. We have to become better business people. We do need to build our own communities and figure out how that works. But let's just say the four of us want to buy a strip mall. Stanford is the real estate agent. Me, Mo, and Philip, we can't worry about what Stanford is making. And that's where some of our pettiness kicks in, and it holds us back. We have to understand the process. Everybody gets a cut. It's not about equality. It's about equity. The more you put in, the more you get back. And we have to stop saying, well, they got this. Well, they had more money. And that's why I don't like dwelling on the past. Yeah, we can discuss it. But if we get caught into it, all of us are black men. If we fail today, we can, and I'm not sure what y'all situation is, but they've given us an excuse. We can say, well, I came from a single parent home. That's a built-in excuse that we can use. Most of us have passed that. Philip just said he ain't at 41 the same person as 21. Growth is a choice. We have to start picking better choices. And as we do it, we can look back and make better choices, because we can reflect. But if we don't do introspect, if we don't do self-awareness, we can't ever get there. And I want us to move forward. How are the ways? Steph, how old are you again?
53.
Okay, so me and Stanford in the same age group. Philip is in another one. Me and Stanford have to pass some of the things down to Philip so that him and his group don't make the same mistake without saying, what you say, Philip? You said the man.
Y'all look great, man. Y'all living healthy out here, man.
But and again, we've learned how to eat. We don't eat like everybody else. We want to take better care of ourselves. And Stanford, no, that's only some of us. Stanford, no, he got friends who are out of shape. And this is the thing when I was saying, at some point, we can't keep getting caught up in where somebody ain't. Those who want to move forward, let's take them with us. Those who want to keep holding on to the past, they can catch up later. If we keep trying to rescue those that don't want to be rescued, all we do is get frustrated, and then we quit. And then me and Stanford was on the show where people talked about voting, and I listened to all the reasons they wouldn't vote for Stacey Abrams. Everything I heard said they didn't want a black woman, because they couldn't tell you nothing substantial. They just kept saying, not a black woman, not a black woman. And it's like, why? So how do we move forward? How do we get there while still maintaining our past, but we can't live in the past? I can't. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry. You know how we do that? And this is just my opinion. First of all, we got to stop. Words are powerful, and we have to learn to stop speaking negative about ourselves. That's one thing. Another thing is this too, is that I asked the question. I said, what is the essence that changes man? It's called time. Time is the essence. That's the answer. It takes time for that to happen. And the reason why it takes time is because, just like them Willie Lynch letters, he said it inside himself. He said, I'll have y'all like this. I have them like this for the next 400 or 500 years. That's time. We have to take time you got to take the time to heal ourselves. And the only way we be able to heal ourselves is we get to recognize who we are and what do we believe in. We have to stick by that. And what I mean by that is that the reason why a lot of black people don't vote, or the reason why a lot of black people doesn't really understand them, doesn't educate themselves in our voting system, is because of the fact that it's a process. I'm going to be honest. A lot of black people do not want to deal with the process. We don't have the patience for it. We want it to happen right away. We were in it for the sprint, not the marathon. And it's going to have to take time. And that's just unfortunate, but that's what it is.
I'm gonna disagree with you on one part. I think it takes experience, because we can get.
Well, you're right about that too.
So
I get that. Yeah.
The more we are involved in things, experience teaches us, and I think that's what we have to start doing. Which is why I don't mind having people who don't see what I see, so we can discuss these and find some common ground. I talked before about single points of failure. If all four of us have an idea, but we're part of a collective, we will run with our ideas that we know best. And when it's time to swap groups, then we can start telling everybody else, so everybody's a part of it. And we have to, at some point, make a decision whose idea is the easiest to get across first. Not whose is the best, whose is the easiest. When I use the thing with the LGBTQ, they get a lot of stuff done, but they only pick one thing at a time. They ain't never thrown everything on the table and tried to get everything fixed. We want everything fixed at once. And I think that's what sets us up for frustration, because Philip wants reparations. I want mental health. Mo wants child support. Stanford wants better schools. We're arguing about who should be first, as opposed to looking at the climate and picking which one we can get done first, and then prioritizing like that. Because there's a constant competition between a lot of us for the wrongest of reasons.
We also have to realize that and this is one thing I think that black people do a lot of. I don't know if y'all have heard it or having experience with it, but I've seen it a lot. Is that I never white people aren't, in my opinion, white people aren't the standard for black people. We got to have our own standards, man.
Right.
We don't have our own standards. We're sitting here, in certain circles, we don't have our own standards.
So let me piggyback off of what you're saying there, because my comment is that we need to have new programming for the youth, because that new programming, right now our communities are still kind of tangential to some of the causes and issues that put us here, right? Mm-hmm. So because that's why you think about the books, right? The books you read, the books, then you think about I'm gonna just call them off. You think about religion, right? Which religion you follow? All of this here is the programming to develop an individual, right? That puts together your belief system, how you move through life, the things you follow, where you want your life to go. So I think we got to figure out a system for new programming, or the parents need to realize that, listen, we need to follow a new structure to start the new thinking in our communities.
We have to make sure that every little thing helps. You got to start with your own household. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it's part of it. That's a big part of it, actually. It's like you look at the atom is the smallest molecular structure that we have on this planet that's known to man, the atom, right? But it's the building block of everything, right? That's how powerful it is. We are just so caught up in what what can we do right now, when we don't have the time to actually think what has to happen. If I teach my kids, right, certain things in my belief systems and the culture that we have, and you teach your kids, each one of you teach your kids, they go out there with that same type of culture, right? And then they sit there and it spreads in a positive manner. But the thing is, we don't do that. We sit back and tell each other, well, what the fuck white people like? What is it that they're doing? I don't care what they're doing. To be honest with you, I really don't. I already know what they're doing. You know,
not paying us no attention.
No, they pay us attention because they got to set up roadblocks. So
no, that's
your
what
ass
DVP
can't
is
get
actually
where you
saying.
need to go.
DVP saying what DVP is actually saying is, I think what I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, DVP is. I think what you're saying is that they really don't give a damn what we're saying because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they know we ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
Let me ask y'all a quick question.
Yeah,
right now, right now, what in your mind? Tell me the top 2 things that are wrong, comma, that can be fixed with Black America.
And what time frame in a generation?
Okay, give me one that can be fixed in a year. Give me one that can be fixed in 5 years. Something short term, something long term. Give me one of each.
And 1 in 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you what I think that we do. That's really not that. In my opinion, it's not really difficult, but it seems to be. I think that our relationships between Black men and Black women can be fixed quickly if we really pay attention. And then our culture, because that shifts as a whole. In other words, we have to fathers, well, mothers too, but fathers have to actually lead our daughters into, because look at our music. You know who the head people are right now in our music, is rap music and all that? Women. And the vast majority of them are what? What are they doing? Exploiting themselves. If fathers was more involved, if fathers were in the household, a lot of that wouldn't happen.
Okay, so we need to improve our sex relations and our family relations.
I think that's the family. That's the thing with me.
Okay. What about you, Philip?
In that time frame you're talking about.
That's a good question to me.
I just want a short term and a long term. What you got, Philip?
A 1 year fix. You're gonna tell me I'm focusing on the past if I say I don't know what can be fixed in 1 year because most of we're talking about things that are that have been decades. I just say decades in the making. I do believe that there is on the surface level what Stanford is talking about in terms of the reconciliation between Black men and Black women. We can start to have and I'm actually starting to see this. There's a different kind of conversation that we need to be having with each other. The podcast world, Red Pill world, and the Ratchet Woman world are working in tandem to make sure that Black folks just don't get married. Like we just go our separate ways. I think we can start to have. We can increase the kinds of conversations that deal with reconciliation, that deal with humanizing each other within a year. Within 5 years, see, for me, it's mostly economics. Within 5 years, we got to get rid of this student loan debt. We got to pass some moratoriums on these corporations that are going in buying these houses and neighborhoods and just letting them sit and grow and treat them like stock, basically. We have to close the employment. I mean, that's not something that Black folks can fix in 5 years. It's all economics for me. Most of it, I'll say.
Okay.
So I don't know what could be fixed.
And the only reason I gave you that is because, I'm got you next, is that if we don't see change, we're quick to stop doing something. That's why I said I want some stuff that's quick, because if you tell most of us we ain't gonna see it for 10 years, we lose focus after 3 months. Most of us aren't built for the race. And I think Stanford said it. We're built for sprints. Most of us aren't built for races, and that's why it's hard for us to sustain stuff, because we don't see the future until at 53, me and Stanford can look at things and see long term. And I would say, if we're being honest, at 20 and 30, we weren't thinking long term. We were thinking about what we like today, what can be done right now. As we got older, we became more focused on that. And that's why you got to have something, because, like I say, what's the number one problem with weight loss? If people don't see a weight loss in 2 weeks, they feel like it ain't working, knowing that the body takes 30 days before it's going to believe that you're really trying to lose weight. So, and that's why I said something short term, something long term. What you got, Mo?
All right, short term is we could change our financial status if people start to understand, start to research, and believe in how stock investing works. Stock investing takes 1 year. All you need is 1 year. You invest your money in something, it matures in a year's time, and then you can take it back out if you want, or you can leave it in the stock market and grow your money even more. 1 year, that's all it takes. And I got all the data and statistics that shows that just Black people in general are the last people to capitalize from this. Now you got to know that a system works if the most people in the system are white men and white women. That's the highest percentage of people that are invested. That should tell you everything you need to know right there. And then I think we need communities to help. I'm going to use this word. Somebody might want to use something else, but I think we need communities to help program our youth. And that means and support our youth, because I know I grew up with no guidance, no support, and I had to kind of figure things out as I went along the way. And that was a hard system to try to work within. Now, if I had some people there to tell me what to do, I probably would have made gains a lot faster.
That's
Okay.
That's real good what you said. I'm gonna the first thing you said was about the economics and everything, but everything that to me that sounds like what we do as Black people. We like to live rich and die broke. So we rather look good now, right?
So but Stanford, here's the deal. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but here's the deal, man. You only need like $1,000 to get started in stocks. So you can still, if you want to do your live rich thing, you can still do that. Just take $1,000, invest it, and it's gonna grow and do what it does on the side. You know what I'm saying? So your original agenda does not get impacted.
And if I'm
but
gonna
it goes back
piggyback
to
off
DVP point is that we needed, they want to see the results of it right away.
Yeah, that's true.
So that $1,000 is not going to turn into $1 million in 2 weeks.
No, it takes a year. It takes
more than that. But
yeah.
But what I'm saying about living rich and die broke is that I know plenty of people that sit there. I know quite a few people who will balk a Mercedes Benz, a S550, a S500, S5600, or something like that, or even any type of high value car in the projects, and say that they got it. They look rich, and then when it's over and said, they don't, they die and broke as hell.
And I think
they left nothing there for nobody. It's just for their kids. I'm saying, you know what I mean? If they have them,
and
we don't own anything. We don't own anything. What do we own? Tell me one supermarket Black people own. One.
There's one in Riverdale. I mean, they did a big story about it.
I've been to Riverdale.
Yeah, and I'm gonna combine some of the things that were said, because I think that part of what we do is we have to be Black people, and men especially have to be more active in the schools. It ain't. I've been watching stuff. It ain't that hard to change curriculum if we integrate financial. If we integrate true financial and politics in the school as opposed to the BS. I mean, why do we need so much? Who cares about King Henry VIII? Who cares about him? But if we taught these kids how to manage money early, I don't know what y'all do in school, what they do in school now, but in the 11th grade, I was on a work study program. I left school early. Nobody ever told me how to manage that money. Nobody told me who FICA was. These are things that I think we have to start pushing, not only as parents, but as uncles and as cousins, to make them start teaching them this early. So when they truly become a member of society, they do have a clue about money. They do understand investments and how investment works. We shouldn't be 50 trying to figure out how IRAs work or how CDs work. This is something that we should have been taught during our learnable years. And we do as a people have to get more involved in that. We spend more time worried about the Kardashians than we do the public school agenda. This is something that we can do, and we can make an impact almost immediately. If Buddy could get books banned in 2 days and change our whole school boards, this is something we can do, and it protects us long term.
DeSantis?
Yeah.
He's a governor. I mean, like,
right. But
gotta get a black governor to be able to make that kind of, you know.
Right. So if we start understanding politics early, I like what I see a lot of the young kids doing with politics because they got it early. Philip, you talking? I see your mouth move, but I don't hear nothing.
No, he wasn't saying nothing. He said something earlier. He said DeSantis.
Okay. So yeah, we have to become better informed. The better informed we are, it sucks in hindsight. Look at how smart me and Stanford and Mo may be at our age when we didn't have it when we were young enough to tell people who were young enough. Because now we're older, unless we do shows like this, we pretty much cut off. And we have to go to Philip and let Philip and hope Philip will pass it on. But if we had to learn this stuff early, most of us are doing okay. But how much better could we have been if we had a head start? So these are things that we can do short term. I doubly agree. We need to work on relationships, men and women. We have to do this. We have to stop undercutting each other and trying to figure out who's the worst. We have to just work together because it's in our best advantage to have the mother of our children in a good place. It's in their best advantage to have the father of their children in a good place so that we can strive together so that we, even through discourse, we can still have a common goal, and that's to make it to the top. Stanford can go down Main Street, Mo can go down 2nd Avenue, Philip can go down Central Avenue, and I can go up MLK, but we're still headed to the same place. We're just making sure that nothing obstructs us. And I think once we get out of that, we only got to go this way mentality, that will make it better. Because yeah, there's some things as we try to get people into voting, things that they want to hold on to. And we got to get them out of that. We got to make them understand this is what we got to do. I look at, I work at a couple of churches and I talk to some pastors and I ask them, I don't understand. Y'all, every year, to me, y'all are no different than that attorney dude I don't like. Y'all bring in politicians, and I'm pretty sure it's the one that you support to talk to your congregation. They're your sheep. They will vote for this person because you brought them in here. But when they don't uphold the end of the bargain, you don't ever bring them back to answer questions. You ain't got to say that negative about them, but you don't bring them in here like you had them before. So if you're the leader, why not do it? As parents, whether we like it or not, what do we have to do with our kids? Sometimes we got to explain stuff to them whether we want, so they understand why we did stuff, especially stuff they don't like. We have to explain to them, I think we all let the kids stay up late one night just so they can see how sleepy they were in the morning so we can prove our point of why they need to go to bed early. The people that we give power to, we don't hold them accountable for that power. We don't make them respond to what we've given them. We just follow. And it becomes a repeat. It becomes an echo. I look at what the pastors get. I look at, Mel, can you put the thing up about the churches, how much of our money they take in? And how many churches, as we talk about what do we own, how many churches have built high rises? How many churches have built apartment complexes to help their neighborhood? But they'll ask for jets to go to Africa to recruit. They'll ask for money for this. They'll ask for money for that. But what are they doing for the neighborhood that they're serving? For those of us who go to church, for those of y'all who go to church, what are they doing with the money? Are they giving out low interest loans to their parishioners who lost their job, who fell on hard times or whatever? What do they do with the $14 billion that we give them annually? I saw one church that opened doors to give showers to homeless people. One church.
I would. So I think when we see data like that, it's like we kind of imagine it. At least I believe we do. Imagine it as like $14 billion going into the church, like the black bake church account. But the average church size is like less than 100 people. Most pastors are not making it off of tithes. They're not doing it. It ain't happening like that.
Not to cut you off, but I know I get what you're about to say. But guess what, man? Guess what? The 1% of the United States is, 1% of the wealth, the majority of the wealth is in the United States is from 1% of the people. I'm saying,
right.
So that's it's unfortunate, but guess what? That is 1% of the black churches that's getting all the money. Look at the Creflo Dollars and all of them. So that creates a big chunk. So obviously, if it's like you just said, say if it's 270 million, I'm saying which is roughly 270 million. I'm just reading this. This is new to me myself. Guess what Creflo Dollar and all of them are getting? Huh? They probably got 200 million. They still black, and they still black, and they still the church.
Okay, but and I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying is, it's just that it's like we make the argument that, you know, black folks, we got a $9 trillion economy. It's not going to a bank of black folks. It's not like the bank of black people's leisure budget. It's like we don't have it, y'all. Like I can't overemphasize how poor black people are. Like
I get you know what,
even the ones who have it, because they are being pulled on by family members who don't have it. Like this is the first generation of like young, you know, you might run into a 30-year-old black millionaire because of the social media era, and you know, just the ways to make money have been varied, but it's still concentrated to a very small minority of really anybody. So when we talk about the black church or just any of our institutions that get most of our resources, when you break all that down, this is why reparations is so reparations is so critical, because we're not gonna financially, we're not gonna not eat out ourselves into prosperity. Like, we're not gonna not buy Jordans ourselves into prosperity. When they passed all of those laws during the New Deal, where black folks couldn't get access to the loans, when black veterans couldn't get access to loans to get homes.
That's really the first affirmative action program too, actually, to be honest with you.
Right, but it is, but the denial of that access created it had a multi-generational effect. So like, my grandparents did not leave me a home. They didn't leave my mom and her sisters a home.
Yeah.
So but my parents will leave me a home. That will have a different impact on my children's children than my grandparents. My grandfather was a sharecropper. Like, it's not, if I can say my grandfather was a sharecropper and I'm 40 years old, we are not that far removed from actual damn near, you know, one half step away from slavery. We've always had a 1%. No matter where you go in the world, I don't care if you live in the bush, there's going to always be a minority of people who have more than the other people. That's the human condition. But in terms of the equity piece that Darren has been hitting on, we need a booster shot. We need something that closes the gap immediately. And the only way to do that, we can't talk around it, is to get reparations. That's literally the only way.
You think so?
Go ahead.
You think so?
No, I just wanted to jump in here real quick. So let me. This is my view on this church. You know, we're looking at this church slide here, and my personal view is that, think about highway tolls, right? The highway tolls, they keep taking them, right? But the highway's already goddamn paid for, long time ago. But the tolls, they keep taking tolls, right? But the highway's paid for. The highway's been paid for. And so only thing there is repair, right? So you don't need to keep taking the same amount of money for repairs once you got your standard base from taking all these tolls from all these people, right? The church should be no different, right? Is this supposed to be a spiritual thing where people want to follow and get their spiritual guidance? You know, church has probably been paid off a long time ago. How come you still taking tithes?
Well, tithes is something that, you know, I think what we messed up at is tithes, first of all, isn't just money. So that's number one.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about, money. Okay, thanks for clearing that up.
And the reason why I was turned off about Creflo when I went to his church down there and everything and all of them. You know why? You know what turned me off is that it was ATM in the damn thing in the church, an ATM. And I said, you know what? I said, you know what? This ain't for me.
Oh my God.
There's literally an ATM inside the church.
Oh my God.
You get what I'm saying? So that just I was like, you know what?
Wow.
All right, I can't do that.
Wow.
But the thing is though, you know, I don't look at people, certain people, just because they have a status of, if they have an economic status, doesn't mean that they the people to lead and the people to lead. Really, they really don't. They really not. It doesn't mean that. Now, if you want to go to church, was Jesus Christ? Was he rich?
No, man, he did it for free.
He wasn't rich, was he?
Did it for free.
Oh, okay, all right. So so I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to understand the logic behind all that.
Yeah, he was a carpenter, though. I mean, he was a.
Was he rich? Yes or no?
Well,
was he rich? No. Economically, was he rich?
You have to define it. I mean, Jesus had a treasure.
Have to define it. Listen, did he have money? Did he have jewels? Did he have
what is
gold?
a treasurer for? What's a treasurer for if there's no treasure?
Did Jesus have a Cadillac?
Did Jesus have a cat? I mean, he probably had a donkey lap. I don't listen. The man turned water into wine. We don't know. We'll never know his financial statements.
Mel says yes, he was rich.
I hear where you're going.
King Solomon was rich.
Yeah,
Mensa Musa was rich.
Yeah,
those people were rich. Jesus was not economically rich. Economically rich.
I mean, but they gambled over his over. He had this when he was on the cross and the soldiers were gambling over his garments.
Didn't he say that it's easier for a poor man to get into heaven than it is for a rich man or something like? It's easier for a rich man. No, it's easier for a poor man to get into heaven than a rich man.
A rich man with the eye of a needle.
Yeah. So
right.
why would y'all think Jesus? Why would you even think that Jesus was rich?
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah,
I think we can use a more contemporary example.
Oh, okay.
Was Malcolm X rich? Was Dr. King rich? No, they were not rich, right? So in terms of the impact that we are able to make without being personally, prosperous, sure, we can make that impact. I also don't believe that capitalism is going to save Black folks.
No, to be honest with you, Jesus Christ is more of a socialist than he was a capitalist.
He was.
So I don't. That has nothing. But we're talking about money. You think God? You think God? You ever heard? You heard the saying, "You can't serve two gods." What two gods are you talking about? You talking about what? The God that we should be praying to, the rich money, or man, someone who's looking for money. That's what he's talking about.
Listen,
I don't disagree.
Listen, John, we ain't gonna get into religion. we're gonna save that for another show. It's 7:53, so it's almost time for me to go. So what I want to do first is give all you gentlemen a chance to give a parting shot and say something that you think that that is important to our people as far as getting forward. How do we move forward? Stanford, I'm start with you because you the news.
I gotta do some stuff real quick. My parting shot is that in order for us to get better, in my opinion, we have to change our mindset. The mind is what's gonna cause this. We have to change it. We cannot allow ourselves to be caught up in the same old record, the same old song. That's sort of like, that's the definition of insanity. In order for us to get better, we have to change our mindset and realize what's important to us as a whole, not just an individual, but as a whole. We have to realize that, because guess what? If we start realizing that, then future generations will make things better for everybody else. We can just start it. Every tree doesn't grow without its roots. We have to start being the roots now, because it was all snatched from us in the United States as far as slavery and everything else like that, in my opinion.
All right, what you got for me, Phil?
Have grace for yourself and for others. Find your tribe. This is a tribe. We all belong to different tribes. Find your tribe and just work within your tribe to make small incremental changes. And hang on to what modicum of optimism we possibly can. Optimism is going to get us through, has gotten us through this entire experience of being Black in America. Try to find some slither of hope in everything that you do.
And being Black is a great thing. Y'all should never forget that. What you got for me, Mo?
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, this is a lesson I had to learn the hard way, but don't be afraid of change. You know, you got what you got. You got your job, you got your relationships, you got, you know, your opportunities. You know, it's okay. Sometimes things change for the better. So don't be scared of change. I know some people just get stuck and they're like, well, this is all I know. I'm staying this way. I know some people like that personally. And I'm trying to tell everybody, look, try something new. It might work, it might not work, but you know what? You start building up an inventory of what is going to work for you, what's not going to work for you, and that's going to help you make better decisions in the long run. So don't be afraid of change.
And I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet before I read the Melodic Getaway. I learned this a long time ago, and this is it's two things that one thing my dad taught me, one thing I learned from the world. My dad taught me, do what you have to so that you can do what you want to. And one of my teachers told me, the mind is like an umbrella. It only works when you open it. And that's what we got to be more open-minded. No matter how right we think we are, it never hurts to listen to other people and find out why they do things. Their reason may not be your reason. It's still not wrong. Different circumstances bring about different results. So open your mind up and be mindful that everybody ain't gonna do what you do because everybody ain't you. Our experiences teach us what to do. All right. So with that being said, now for the weekly Melodic Getaway deal. I'm sure we got some pictures for this. If you are looking to have some scary fun this Halloween, then this family package is just for you. Universal Studios is hosting their 22nd annual event, where this year there will be 10 terrifying themed haunted houses, 5 sinister scare zones, live entertainment, and much more. You can fly in from Atlanta on October the 19th. This package includes 4 3-day tickets and 2 days free with admission to one Universal Orlando Resort theme park day, Universal Studios Florida, or Universal Islands of Adventure, or Universal Volcano Bay. Your family of 4 will also receive early admission access. 2 nights of Halloween Horror Nights events come with the stay. Scream and Save package, where you can get an early access to the Horror Nights events and attractions before the crowd. Oh yeah, and don't forget that travel protection just in case something come up. But you know, hey, try something, do something, save some money, and see the world. It's more than just where you live. It's more than just your little zone. This has been Random Thoughts with DVP. Again, we try to come up with solutions. Sometimes we don't come up with enough solutions, but we'll come back again. But it's about having tools on the tool belt so you know different ways to think, different ways to go about seeing other people's perspective. You don't have to like them, but remember, you don't have to live them either. Just respect other people's choices like you want your choices to be respected. And I think we'll be a much better people once we understand that, even though I use the word respect, I don't believe you have to give respect, but you don't have to disrespect. So if I got a choice, I would rather you not disrespect me than have you respect me. Disrespect is just outright, and it serves no purpose. So let's stop being disrespectful. If you don't like somebody, that's cool. Disagree with them, but you don't have to be disrespectful. That's my thoughts. It's been Random Thoughts with DVP, and I appreciate y'all. I drank all my drink while I was getting educated. I got something coming up in the future, and we'll talk again. I'll see y'all 6 days, 22 hours. All right. So y'all know what it is. Peace, popcorn, and chicken grease, and we out.